Coach Prime recently appeared on Earn Your Leisure podcast, one of the biggest financial literacy podcasts in the world. It's pretty cool. It really caters towards the culture, catered towards Black folk. And he spoke a lot of things. And we're going to talk about some of the things that I found most interesting from his interview with Troy and Rashad from EYL on Your Leisure. Let's talk about it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What's good people? What's good people? My name is JeffLightsyJr here with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe to the videos. Shout out to all you loyal subscribers. Shout out to y'all. If y'all are new to the channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hang out with me. We have a good time on the channel. Now, today, here to talk about Coach Prime. He had an appearance on Earn Your Leisure. Hold on, let me put these headphones in. He had an appearance on the Earn Your Leisure podcast. Like I said, one of the biggest financial literacy podcasts in the entire world, ran by two brilliant guys named Troy and Rashad. Shout out to Troy and Rashad and EYL and the whole EYL team, 19 Keys, Master Investor, all those guys. I love all those guys. And anyway, Coach Prime was on there and he had some pretty profound things that he had to talk about, from his playing career to coaching at Jackson State to HBCU culture to NIL to everything. And some of the most interesting things that he talked about, we're going to talk about here today. Now, before I get into that, I want to first rewind a little bit and talk about some of the things that Coach Prime has been talking about recently. And that includes the FCS top 10. Jackson State, if you don't know, was ranked in the FCS poll this week. They're in the top 10. And a lot of people, because they, look pretty strong and they look like they're going to go undefeated throughout the entire season, just simply the way they're beating up on teams. I mean, they're beating teams by an average of 40 points per game. They haven't given up. They gave up 24 to Grambling, but outside of that, they haven't given up more than one touchdown in any other game. Actually, only one other touchdown in 3 other games. They gave up 24 to Grambling and only one touchdown in the FAMU, Tennessee State, and Valley games. So they're just beating up on a lot of teams. And even in the game they gave up 24 points, they still won by 42 points. You get what I'm saying? So like they're just scoring a lot. Shador's putting up crazy numbers. And so Coach Prime was asked about the FCS playoffs and asked about, what he felt about the FCS playoffs. And this clip was posted by Dr. Cavill. Shout out to Dr. Cavill inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's go ahead and take a look at the clip that's circling its way around the internet. And we're going to talk about that and also what took place in EYL. So this is the clip posted by Dr. Cavill. Shout out to Dr. Cavill. He'll be on this platform sooner than later. Shout out to Dr. Cavill. And let's take a look at what Coach Prime had to say about being ranked and about the Celebration Bowl versus the FCS playoffs. Let's skip a little bit of that.
It's a blessing. It is. I don't give a damn about no polls. What is they going to do? What is the poll going to do for us?
It puts you in the position in the playoffs.
What playoffs? We want to go to Celebration Bowl.
Look at the man. What did he say? We don't give a darn about no poll. What does a poll do for us? What does a poll do for us? We don't care about the FCS playoffs. And he's going to explain why he don't care about the FCS playoffs. But that answers a lot of questions. There was some questions circling around the internet. Oh, would Jackson State turn down the SWAC and turn down the Celebration Bowl to go to FCS playoffs? Well, Coach is answering your question right here and right now. Let's continue listening.
Are they paying for the playoffs? Do they pay for the playoffs?
Not until later as you progress later in the process.
What does it go do for us? Like when you go to a bowl game, like the bowl games at the conclusion of the season with the FCS, right? They get compensated, correct? So why would we want to go to something that we're not compensated and we could go somewhere where we're compensated, like the Celebration Bowl? That's the goal. We're trying to bless these kids, man. We're not trying to just play in bowls. If that was the case, we'd just make up a bowl and go down the street and play in Louisiana, right? A big empty stadium and ain't nobody using.
Oh.
They use it, twice a year? Let's just do a bowl game. Don't make sense. No. It has to be a purpose for everything under heaven. Under heaven. It has to be a purpose for every darn thing we do. It has to be a purpose. We can't just do things just because we're able to do it. It has to be purposeful.
Do it.
We good? Thank you.
And so that was profound because it answers some of the questions. It wasn't a lot of questions, but it answers some of the questions. Like I said, whether Coach and JSU, if they continue this dominant season that they've been on, like they've just been blowing everybody out the waters. Everybody's first thing is, oh, JSU needs to play more competition and go into the FCS playoffs, as we saw from FAMU last year. They'll play some pretty stiff competition. North Dakota State is always a worthy opponent. All the teams in the top 10 FCS, shout out to the Blue Bloods. He posted the top 10 FCS. All those teams are viable. All those teams are better than the teams that are in the SWAC. And so that'll be that heightened level of competition. A lot of people want to see JSU play. The only problem is you don't get any money from playing in the FCS playoffs. That's what the guys are like. Well, you get some if you continue to advance or whatever. And that's not to say JSU wouldn't continue to advance, but everything up front they have to pay for. That includes lodging. That includes travel. And they're going to ship them somewhere that's very, very far from Jackson, Mississippi, whether it's Fargo, North Dakota, or Montana, or just somewhere that not only will it be a hassle for the team and the band or whoever to go, it's a hassle for the fans to go. So it's a lose-lose. You're paying money for your team to be there. You're paying money for your band to be there just for you to possibly make some money at the very end, but you're going to lose money throughout the whole entire process. Whereas a Celebration Bowl, even just going, you don't have to win, just going, you get millions of dollars. You get a crazy amount of exposure. Way more people watch the Celebration Bowl than they do the FCS playoffs. That's just a fact. Way more people watch the Celebration Bowl, a singular game, than any game in the FCS playoffs. That is a fact. Even the FCS championship, that is a fact. It just is. The Celebration Bowl, especially when it's featuring Jackson State, whether it's last year or potentially this year, gets millions of viewers. Last year got the highest, it was the second highest ranked Celebration Bowl ever in the history of the bowl game, and it got over 2 million viewers. The FCS championship, I don't know what it got, but I'm willing to bet a nice amount that it didn't get 2 million. The Celebration Bowl also is on ABC, which is pretty accessible to any and everyone that wants access to it. Whereas the FCS playoffs or championship game, now the playoffs, I don't even know if every game of the playoffs is on television. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I don't even know that answer. I don't think that they all are, but I definitely don't know if I definitely don't think the early round games are. And then even the championship game is on ESPN, which is nothing wrong with ESPN. It's on the one. It's on ESPN 1, but that's not ABC. Like, that's just not ABC. It's just not. I mean, more ABC typically gets better viewers. That's why ESPN and Disney and but the highest rank or the best ranked games on ABC. So that he kind of clears up some of that. Now to the EYL interview. Shout out to EYL. I really like the EYL interview because they focused heavily. They talked about some of his professional career, but they focused heavily on what he's doing at Jackson State, the building of young men, the building of a program, and where he wants to see this program go. Now, Coach is always quick to shut down, like when they ask him, because the guys, I think Rashad specifically, asked him about the 5-year plan from Jackson State. Where do you want to see Jackson State? And he's always quick to like shut down. Like, I don't think about 5-year plans, 10-year plans, or whatever. I just think about the here and now, dominate now. But he did answer somewhat of a future type question when he was asked about what he sees Jackson State in the future as far as FBS goes. Do you see Jackson State eventually becoming a big dog? Right? And by a big dog, I mean, do you see Jackson State in a Power 5 conference? I'll let Rashad ask you. We're going to play a clip, and this is fair use, and this is for criticism. Fair use, fair use. Don't want to get no copyright strike from EYL. We love EYL, but this is fair use. Let's take a listen to what Coach Prime had to say about Jackson State potentially not just moving to the FBS, but moving to a Power 5 conference in the FBS. Let's take a listen.
Way possible that you foresee Jackson State being in a power conference at some point in time?
I would like to see that when we're ready. Mm-hmm. We got to be ready.
I would like to see that when we're ready. Now that is interesting because it kind of Well, let's continue listening.
Now, when you start jumping conferences, and I don't want to just jump to no baby conference. If I'm going to jump, let's bungee jump. Let's do the doggone thing, okay?
Now, what that means to me, I don't want to jump to a baby conference. I'm going to be stopping periodically simply because I don't want to get a copyright strike, man, because YouTube's already playing games with me. I don't want any more. I don't want to smoke YouTube. But anyway, I don't want to jump to a baby conference, meaning I don't want to go to the Sun Belt. I don't want to go to Conference USA. I don't want to go to the, you know what I mean, the Big East or something. Like, I want to bungee jump this thing. I want to get into one of them big boys, one of them Big 12s, the ACCs, the SEC possibly. You know what I'm saying? The Big 10. I want to bungee jump this thing. Let's continue on. That's what that sounded like to me.
So I got to get the Travises. I got to get Travises there too. Okay, up front on both sides, offensive, defensive line with some depth. Because that's how the big boys will get you now. They can't mess with you in a skill position because we got a quarterback that can spin it. We got receivers that can go, DBs that can go, linebackers that can bang and cover. Where they get you is right here.
And that is a fact. For the folks that want to know why JSU hasn't scheduled this big-time non-conference game, it's because up front they just aren't ready. At times you still see them struggle, and that's not. I mean, they've been dominating teams, but at times you still see them struggle in the trenches. Tennessee State gave them problems in the trenches. Grambling in the first half gave them problems in the trenches, both on the offensive and defensive lines. You know what I'm saying? So, like, to him, even if it's for a half, even if it's for a quarter, in Tennessee State's case, even if for the duration of entire game, if I can't push these guys around, meaning the Tennessee States of the world entire game, Grambling States of the world in the first half or whatever, then I'm not ready to play an Ohio State in the trenches, an Alabama in the trenches, a Notre Dame or LSU or whoever in the trenches. That's what he's saying. That's why people, Georgia in the trenches. That's why I'm like, he needs to go play so-and-so. Like, man, he's working. The man's been there for 2 calendar years. He was hired in September 2020. All right, September 2020, and what he's already done is won a SWAC championship and had the first 11-win season in the history of Jackson State. He's done that in under 2 years. So give the man some time.
In the trenches. Because now when they rotate. And they got 8 heat-seeking missiles coming. Yeah. And you may have 4. So sooner or later, you're going to wear down. So you got to beef that up.
And that is a fact. That is, for those who don't know football, that is a fact. Teams rotate both offensive and defensive linemen. And every single week in college football, especially high-level college football, somebody's getting hurt, especially on the O-line or the D-line. So you have to have quality depth behind your first team, not just for the rotation, but just for the simple fact that an injury is going to happen. An injury is going to happen through the duration of a 10, 11, 12, 13, sometimes 15-game seasons. An injury is going to happen. Let's continue on.
If you want to compete with the big boys.
But you would like that or be open to it.
I want that.
Yeah, I
want that.
That's the big thing. I want that. I want to jump to a big boy. Now, that is interesting. That is interesting because he's talking about Jackson State. He ain't talking about the SWAC. I want JSU to bungee jump into a big-time conference. I'm going to have some thoughts on that later.
What conference would you want to be in?
I know
it don't matter. A conference that is going to
SEC
make sure that we don't have a struggle no more. Because everything is a struggle. Everything is not enough. Everything is less than. Everything is like thereof. It's going to be a conference that can put the whole school on. That we straight.
Powerful words by Prime. Powerful words. Simply because, it's interesting because we've heard Commissioner McClellan of the SWAC talk about, wanting to move up to FBS. But there's certain requirements that a lot of the SWAC schools either they can't oblige right now, and we don't know when they will be able to oblige, whether that's, stadium upgrades, whether that's, attendance, whether that's enrollment, whether it's whatever. Some of the schools just simply can't oblige right now. So the whole idea of the conference moving up as a whole from FCS to FBS it's hard. It's tough to see. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just tough to see right now. And so now we have Coach Prime, at least for the first time that I know of, openly and actively talking about wanting to move his program, not really talking about the conference, but wanting to move his program up to the FBS level. And it's intriguing because Jackson State, the way that they're moving, and the way that the attractiveness, and they talked about this in that EYL interview, the attractiveness of Jackson State, the way that they're moving, the way that they've been an epicenter for Black college football since Prime arrived, whether it's, the attendants that show up in the stands, or the celebrities that show up to the games, or the people that come and visit the facility, or, the people that come and talk to the team. Like, it's different there. Like, people can say what they want about whoever or whatever. It's different there. Like, and it's not just different there compared to other HBCUs. It's not what I'm saying. I'm not disparaging anybody else. It's different there than anybody in college football. Like, it's different there than anything in professional football. It's different there because their coach is different and their coach is iconic. And he's implemented things that are just, quite frankly, different than any other program in the country, any other football entity in the country, not just at the college level, not even just specifically at the HBCU level, but at any level of football. Like, it's just different. And so to hear that he wants to take that show on the road and move up and bungee jump, somebody's going to bite on that. The way the conference realignment is taking place in college football, Prime wouldn't be saying what he's saying in that capacity if he didn't already have a bidder, or if he wasn't always already in some kind of talks with someone, or some kind of conference has tipped him off that is like, hey, y'all, they probably, what's going to eventually happen, if it hasn't already happened, some conference, whether it's the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC, who needs a shot of juice in their arm, or whoever, somebody is going to run back to Prime, if they haven't already done it, and say, in the next 3 to 5 years, I need you guys, here's a checklist. I need you guys to accomplish everything in this checklist. Whether it's get a new stadium, which they've already done a feasibility study in Jackson, Mississippi. For those of you who don't know, Jackson, Mississippi is in the city. A lot of my viewers, y'all from Mississippi. Y'all understand that the city paid $500,000 to find out where would be the best place to put a stadium, right? Some of the people wanted a stadium, because it sounds like Jackson State get a new stadium. And some folks want a new stadium in downtown Jackson so you can see it while you're crossing over, or people or whatever, so you can see it from the expressway. And the school wants the stadium on campus because they already have the land. They already have the land, so they don't have to buy out other parts of the land. And they wanted walking distance for students on campus. Now, somebody let me know in the comments, is the stadium that they currently have, is the vet already on campus? So I don't know. I don't think the vet is on campus. So they want a stadium on campus. And then the price tag for this stadium, from the news report, this is all straight according to the news down there in Mississippi, the stadium will cost $120 million. So the fact that the feasibility study, a price tag's already been put on a stadium, freaking diagrams have already been mapped out, the stadium's coming. They wouldn't be doing all of this and talking to all these people and arguing whether it's going to be downtown or on campus if the stadium wasn't coming. And the school already owns the land on campus. So the stadium's coming. And so what I'm saying is, and this is why I think a conference has already told Prime, or told Ashley Robertson, or told the folks at JSU, it's like, hey, here's a checklist. If you guys are serious about coming to the ACC, or coming to the Big 10, or coming to the Big 12, or whatever, just thinking about, I don't think it'll be the SEC. I think it'll either be the Big 12, the ACC, probably one of those two, or maybe the Big 10. I doubt it, but the Big 12 and the ACC make a lot more sense. And they probably gave them a checklist and said, hey, if you're serious about potentially, now it's not saying it's ever going to happen, but if you're serious about potentially joining our conference, here are the things I need to see you guys do. And obviously this ain't an overnight project over the next 3 to 5 to maybe even 7 years. If you can get these things done, we'll send you an invite. We'll send you an invite, period. And that's probably why he felt comfortable saying what he said on EYL. Because he has the checklist, and a lot of those things are in motion. A whole lot of those things are probably in motion that we just simply don't know about. Another thing he talked about on EYL, and I'm not going to keep showing clips because, like I said, YouTube's already acting funny towards me, so I don't want to get any more copyright strikes or anything. Hit that thumbs up button. Another thing he talked about on EYL was the money that JSU brought to the city of Jackson. As we talked about on this show, Jackson State brought in $30 million to the city of Jackson. $30 million. 30 and a bunch of comma, a bunch of zeros, right? And he said, we did that without talking. We brought in $30 million to this city without even really communicating with the mayor or with city officials or with business partners or whatever. But if we create some partnerships and we get in bed with each other and we get some deals done, we could maybe push that number to 40 or 45 million this year. He said, I just want a little tip of that though. You know what I'm saying? We help you make 30 million and possibly can help you make 40 million this year, or maybe even 45 million. How about shoot us a little kickback? You know what I'm saying? A little 10%. And they was like, 20%. He's like, because when you go to a restaurant, you give them a good tip. You give their server. If you get good service, you get good food, the people were nice and polite, you shoot them a tip, 20%, 25%, 18%, whatever you got. He said, I'll take 10. Because 10% of 30 million is $3 million. It's a nice little paycheck. 10% of 40 million is $4 million. 10% of 45 million potentially is $4.5 million. And so that is something potentially watch for, and this is just for the people who care, more partnerships and more strategic partnerships with Jackson State, the football team, and the business is taking place down there in Jackson. Because Jackson is the capital of Mississippi. And so more of these partnerships, I could see them coming together even more. And he said he actually had meetings, which this was probably recorded sometime last week. So he had meetings some point last week or maybe even early this week with the different leaders in the city of Jackson. That is also a takeaway that I've seen, because that could become another influx of money. People are like, oh, where is Jackson State getting all this money? Well, they're getting this money from their strategic partnerships. And as long as they continue to dominate on the field, obviously they're going to have haters because they're going up and beating up on everybody's favorite school, everybody's alumni, everybody's X, Y, and Z. But as long as they're raking in the cash from their sponsorships with all the partners that Prime does business with, which is another thing he said on EYL, anybody that I personally do business with, let's say SWAC, Pepsi, or whoever, they have to do business with Jackson State. So that helps their budget directly. That directly helps their budget. And if he's able to do the same thing with the cities, the local officials, and the local business owners, or whoever, local hotels, or whoever in the city of Jackson, that's going to help JSU bring some more money. And with more money becomes more benefits. And with more benefits becomes better facilities, more staff members, more everything. And that's going to continue to help in recruiting, which will continue to have them dominate the SWAC even more. So that is something to watch out for. That's why it's significant in bringing up. Also, we talked about on EYL, I thought was cool, was the NIL. Now, it's always funny when Prime talks about NIL, because he was a master marketer throughout his entire professional career, both on the field and off the field. He's just a master at marketing. Like the Prime stuff, the Amazon Prime NFL Thursday. He's got stuff glittered all over, splattered all over his social medias and stuff, because his name is Prime. They're Amazon Prime. He's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. They have now the NFL package. That's just a match made in heaven. That was too easy. And then he got his son Shador in on it too. So that was just a match made in heaven. But speaking of Shador, he talked about how his son and Alabama's Bryce Young are some of the only collegiate players who have NIL deals who are actually promoting something. And Shador, he was promoting Brady brand. Then he always got a bunch of Beats by Dre. He was in a Gatorade commercial. And then he would always hook up his teammates. All his teammates got Beats by Dre's last year. Then they got the big boys this year. And now it's just so funny. It's crazy how the timing works. And it's not by accident. I mean, they're really strategic and really smart about this stuff. He's talking about Shador and his NIL and actually promoting stuff. The day that his EYL interview came out, it came out on a Tuesday, and on Wednesday morning, you got Shador actually promoting his first actual product. So other things that Shador was producing or endorsing were other people's products, the Beats by Dre's, Brady's Tom Brady brand. He was a college ambassador for that. Gatorade, obviously Gatorade has his own thing, but he didn't have like a signature line with any of these things. Well, now he has his #2 barbecue sauce, and I talked about that earlier, but that is, it times up perfectly. It times up perfectly with what You know, what Prime was talking about the day before on EYL. It's like my son's actually endorsing a brand. And then you got Shador with an actual #2 barbecue commercial. If you haven't seen the commercial, let me go ahead and pull that up. So that way, for those who haven't seen it, will be able to see that he is actually endorsing a product. Now, I'm not going to play the audio because they play some music. And like I said, they're already messing with me on YouTube. But I am going to show you the visuals because it's really cool because he incorporates. I mean, how can you? It incorporates a lot of things I talked about in my last video, which I put that out before the commercial came out, or at least was released. But we're not going to play no music. Whoa. But it incorporates a lot of the visuals that I talked about as perfect, which is tailgating. And something I didn't even talk about, which is offensive linemen. It incorporates offense. You see the big boys at the tailgate using the barbecue sauce. You know what I'm saying? It's perfect because Jackson State Stadium, as you see, is very large. It suits 60,000 people. You got Shador talking. You got the O-lineman loving the cookout. They should have had it spread out a little more and had it look like a real tailgate. You know what I'm saying? A little puny table in the middle or whatever. But hey, it is what it is. They got the big boy smiling. And you can purchase it online at participating Kroger's and specifically at the JSU bookstore. At the JSU bookstore, I thought that was so lit that you can actually purchase that on campus at the bookstore. So you know everybody who's going to the tailgate, the next home game at JSU is going to have their #2 barbecues on deck for the real fans, the real supporters. And that just felt directly, perfectly in line with what Coach Prime was talking about at EYL. He also got into teaching his young men about financial literacy. As some of the young men on the team are fathers, and it's about because he knows 95% of his team won't go pro to the NFL, but they'll be professionals in life, and he's setting them up to have successful lives as young men, as fathers in their careers, whatever they choose to do. And I think all of that is special, man. So those were my takeaways from the EYL interview. Interview was dope. You should go check it out. Earn Your Leisure YouTube. Check out Coach Prime episode. It was awesome. They did it right there in Jackson. He went and met with, they went to the facility. He talked about all the upgrades that he's been able to do in the 2 years. We've chronicled those. What he's been able to do. And it's just special to continue to see the growth of not just the coach, but also of the program. I'm hoping, because you guys know I'm a Graham fam guy, I'm hoping that Graham can catch up, and I'm hoping the rest of the SWAC can catch up to continue to make this thing competitive, right? Like, we don't want to get to a point where, we're starting to get there now, but where Jackson State's just beating everybody by 50 points. That's no fun. It's not fun to talk about. It's not fun to cover. As you see, I haven't even done post-game reviews the last couple of games simply because 49-7, I'm saying, beating teams about average of 40, 45, 50 points. Like, that's good. That's what they want to do. It's not always fun to talk about. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's fun to talk about, the 16, the 3 game against Tennessee State, but it was a juggernaut until the end of the game. It was 9-3 in the fourth quarter. That's fun to talk about. And some of the mistakes that you saw. It's not always fun to talk about 50-point blowouts. So I'm hoping, obviously I didn't expect it to happen this year. And it's going to be hard to do that as long as JSU has the quarterback thing figured out, and as long as they got Shador. But I want to see the Gramblin's of the world, the Southerns of the world, the Texas Southerns of the world, and so on and so forth continue to catch up. And then, Jackson State still got to prove that they're better than the schools over in the MEAC. We saw, North Carolina A&T hand it to South Carolina State. That's the rematch everybody wants to see. But that don't, fam, you handed it to South Carolina State earlier in last year too, and we got to Celebration Bowl. It's a totally different story. So it's going to be interesting to see. And North Carolina Central looks legit. North Carolina Central is legit. They beat up on that same A&T team. They beat up on South Carolina State. So it's going to be interesting to watch how the rest of the things play out, the rest of the HBCU football season. I just can't wait to see it. Knock on wood, everybody stays healthy, and we're able to see every team at full capacity and when they match up with each other. So leave your thoughts in the comments down below and on the screen. Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, my name is JeffLightsYJr with the Black Boss Channel and Victor Formation. We're talking about Coach Prime on EYL. Had some good takeaways, and I think this is really good education, not just for the players on Jackson State, but for college football players and business owners, man. People that are into different businesses, to continue to bet on yourself. Be smart about it, but bet on yourself, man. Take a chance, even when everybody thinks it's a goofy thing. Like, so a lot of folks thought Coach Prime going to Jackson State wasn't the best move. And all he's done is made that a hotbed, not just for recruits, not just for TV cameras, but for bloggers, for YouTubers. He started a whole industry by going to Jackson State. I mean, he did. He started literally an entire industry by choosing to go to an HBCU that had the last previous 6 years before he got there was in the dumpster of the SWAC, right? And now coaches are gravitating not just to Jackson State, but gravitating toward the SWAC, gravitating toward the HBCU, gravitating toward the HBCU football. Some of the highest rated highlight videos on ESPN are of HBCU football. That wasn't the case before Deion Sanders. And so we all, owe him a little bit of this gratitude. Even myself, my platform has skyrocketed since Deion Sanders became the head coach of Jackson State. I'm not afraid to admit it. And he knows it. He talked about that he talked about that in the EYL interview in his SWAC Media Day conference. He was like, yo, like y'all clicks and y'all followers and y'all likes and y'all subscribers have gone up since I've been here. So why not continue to push that envelope and continue to promote the greatness that is taking place, not just at his school, but all across all the HBCUs. So thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, my name is JeffLightsYJr. here with the Black Boss Channel and Victory Formation. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. That is Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Peace.